So we have a theme of an economic model under threat. And in terms of the impact that we're seeing from these new disruptive technologies, pick your cryptocurrency based on the blockchain technology, what are we likely to see? What is the real outcomes in the near term for all these new quote unquote disruptive technologies?
Well, I wouldn't say the economic model's under threat, actually, but we do have a lot of creative destruction in the system. We're getting a lot of new systems. And the financial system looks like it's moving from a hub and spoke system with very large institutions at the core that charge significant fees for peers to make transactions to a direct peer-to-peer system. That system can be a lot more efficient and less costly, so people are moving to it. Alipay in China, which is a trusted payment system, has over 400 million users. That's larger than the whole population of the United States. So the model is changing. In economics, we always have change. What we need to do is to make sure that the new risks that are coming from these new technologies and the institutions that operate them are properly managed. And that's going to be very difficult for governments.
In trying to connect the two ideas of the dialogue from today, you have those risks that are coming about because of blockchain and the new technologies, but also at the same time you have elevated levels of state-owned debt. How does that set us up for the future in terms of you've got two different very considerate risks to the global economy? How do we and how should we kind of view those?
Well, this rise that we've had for the past decade in the ratio of government debt pretty much all over the world to GDP, that can't be sustainable. And anything that's not sustainable won't be sustained. So this is a fundamental problem. The new technologies of transactions mean that the way that debt problem will be resolved will be different this time. And I personally don't believe that enough thought has been given to that. The basic thing that needs to be done, obviously, is fiscal consolidation in order to bring the debt holdings down. But this isn't really very likely to happen in the next few years. So we're going to have some kind of major debt problem, and that will involve the restructuring of a lot of sovereign debt. That's going to have a significant effect on economic activity, I'm afraid. There's not really any way of getting around that.
And last question about this forum in specific sense. You see members of academia, members of government, members of the business sector. Is that required? Is that type of dialogue required to find a solution, especially if we're headed towards kind of the economic difficulties that may lay ahead?
Yes, I think that's right. I have been involved in all three of those groups, governments, regulators, and the private sector. And I think that kind of dialogue is really pretty important. At the end of the day, however, it's the governments that have to take the hard decisions that will maintain stability in the system. And the problem we're seeing is a problem of political short-termism. It's okay to let the debt rise and do all kinds of good things in the public sector, but the chickens come home to roost, and the debt will have to be serviced. This is moving consumption forward. And this is causing, particularly at a time when the populations of many countries are getting older, there are going to be fewer people working to service the debt relative to the total population. This is a time when we have to resolve these problems now. I don't think that's going to happen, so in the not too distant future, we're going to see challenges. But this kind of conversation among these three groups, I thought was very productive.